What's going on, guys? It's your boy Luke here for our Wednesday prize picks preview for the NBA slate tonight. If you guys haven't seen me on the channel before, my name is GS Luke DFS, a content creator that covers the NBA, golf, football, MMA, all of the sports on my channel. So if you haven't already checked that out, haven't already subscribed to my personal YouTube, a link will be down in the description for that. But here in this video, we're covering our favorite prize picks props for tonight. And last video that we put out here on the channel didn't go all too well. We went 2 for 3, had our Harden prop actually fall through. It ended up being a late scratch towards the evening that day. So as a result, looking to try and get a 4 for 4 out here. We've done it for our golf props a few times last week. I'm looking to go out and get a 4 for 4 on the NBA. It tends to be a sport that I'm pretty damn good at DFS, particularly on the DraftKings side. So looking to take some of that knowledge to the prop market here and give you guys some of these early leans in the day. Of course, the whole board isn't complete. There's a lot of injury news that still needs to come through the funnel. But as the board stands right here, these are 4 of the props that I'll be considering adding to my portfolio come later on tonight. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hop right into it. All right, on the screen, you guys can see the market for today, some of the props I have my eyes on. And we're going to go ahead and start in the assist market with Jason Tatum, whose line is at 4.5 assists against a very weak Charlotte Hornets team. It's not like they're not a good basketball team. It's just on the defensive side, they're an absolute fantasy goldmine. Whether it's turning the ball over offensively, guys like LaMelo Ball, turning it over an average of 3.5 times a game, or on the defensive side where sometimes they just don't play defense at all. So a team like the Celtics that tends to run with slower pace, might not be the highest scoring team in the NBA, should be a great spot to target some of these props because it is such a nice pace up. In terms of how Tatum's been playing of late, you can see he's been a much bigger distributor than normal. He's averaging 5.8 assists over his last 5 games, 7, 6, 4, 7, 5, hitting the over in 4 of those 5 games, which is a good percentage for what we're looking for here. Is just 4.5 assists. And again, with this pace up spot, a team that lets up a ton of easy baskets, would not be surprised if Tatum goes well over this 4.5 number. It is by far my favorite prop, at least early on the board today, and very likely to be something I'm adding to my cards this evening. Next up, we have the Kevin Porter Jr. real points prop. So a little bit of a revenge narrative spot here. You have Kevin Porter Jr. going back against the Cleveland Cavaliers, a team that clearly let him go and did it in quite high profile fashion. They got him out of town, called him a locker room cancer, pretty much everything you don't want to hear as a player. So I do expect there to be a legitimate level of vigor here. Quite a bit of vengeance that he's probably looking out there to get. When he's played against the Cavs in the past, has also seen a lot of success. And over these last 5 games, has done a ton of scoring, averaging 17.6 points per game, and has hit the over in the last 5 games. So the fact that he's going into a revenge narrative spot, he's been so good scoring the ball of late. This doesn't even have to be a competitive game for him to hit the over. I have him projected right now for 19.6 real points, which is well over that 14.5 point mark. So much like the Jason Tatum prop that we've already talked about here, very likely to be added to my cards this afternoon. You know, as long as this isn't adjusted up 2.5 points, that type of thing, there should be at least a little bit of juice to squeeze there. And given the matchup, given the narratives in play, makes it an intriguing option for tonight. Next up, let's move on to the Evan Mobley rebounds prop, which is on the other side of that game here. So Evan Mobley at 8.5 rebounds right now against one of the worst teams in the NBA, particularly their front court, where you never really know who's going to start for them. You know, never using really Sengun in that starting lineup. They'll use Tice from time to time, which would be an ideal matchup for Mobley, because even if he's not playing the 5, he's playing his usual 4 role alongside Jarrett Allen, still going to be getting plenty of rebounds. If we take a look at his last 5 games, has been an absolute machine. You know, 17 rebounds against OKC. That was a really solid matchup, very comparable to what we have here with Houston. New York Knicks, also a relatively weak front court. He was able to get 12 rebounds. He got 9 against Detroit, an undersized front court. And you can see where he struggled was against Milwaukee, which makes sense. Giannis Antetokounmpo is not necessarily the easiest person to rebound against. And against Valanciunas, against some of Jackson Hayes, they played an extremely large lineup the other day. He didn't have his best day rebounding. So that's why we see the prop where it is. He's still averaging 10 rebounds per game over his last 5. And for the season, averaging well over 8.5 rebounds per game. So I think that this is a very safe line. Should probably be closer to 9.5 rebounds. So as a result, it's not necessarily a lock to make my props later on in the day, but definitely something I'll at least consider adding to the card. And now lastly, the last prop we'll talk about here is going to be the real points prop for LaMelo Ball. Right now it's at 20.5 points, which is fair, but it's especially good considering that Gordon Hayward is likely to sit tonight. Hayward would have been in a great revenge spot against the Celtics, but without him in the lineup, you're looking at an extra 7 to, let's say, 12 shots per game to be distributed. Miles Bridges is going to take plenty of them, but of course, the guy who's doing a lot of the ball handling, LaMelo Ball, probably going to chuck up at least a few extra shots. If we take a look at his performances over the last 5 games, you can see he's averaging 23.2 points, which is a solid 2.7 points higher than his prop tonight. He has games of 29 points, 23, 25. So he's hit the over on 3 of his last 5 games. But something to consider here is now he's dealing with some extra usage, right? Some extra shots to be put up. The matchup isn't ideal. It's a little bit of a pace down spot, but at the same time, the line's very fair. Definitely something that I'll consider adding to my cards later on, but not nearly as convicted as a play of these other 3. I like these other 3 quite a bit more, closer to a 10 to 15% edge, particularly for something like the Jason Tatum prop up here. I'm closer to a 7 to 8% edge for the LaMelo prop. So still like it. I don't think it's a lock by any means. Something that I have in a 4-play flex card with these 4 picks right now, but maybe later on tonight isn't something that I'm building around. And before we hop on here, just want to go ahead and talk about a few props that I considered adding to my card, but weren't able to make the top 4. So if you don't like the Jason Tatum assist prop, you'd rather take something a little bit safer, maybe take a look at the real points prop, right? 27.5 points. He's hit the over on that a lot of late, averaging 30 points per game. Or you can even take a look at the PRA, right? PRAs are a lot of people's thing out there. He's hit the over just as much, perhaps a little bit safer because of how pace of a matchup this is going to be. But I'll be taking the assist prop. Could completely understand if you want either of those 2 ways. Either if you're taking a look at Kevin Porter Jr., you can also take a look at the PRA. They have his PRA, I believe, at like 25.5. That's right, still at what it was before. He's hit the over 4 of his last 5 games, which is a little bit better than what we saw with the Jason Tatum. With the scoring, that's also a little bit better than what we saw with Kevin Porter Jr. He did have that one game where he hit the under on the real points, but the over on the PRA. He's somebody who's going to get you those 4 to 5 rebounds per game. If he has a solid game with the assists, could make him a little bit safer in that option. So I wouldn't hate going to the PRA there instead of the real points prop. I definitely have a little bit of a higher edge on the real points prop there, but could not fault you for going that way. And with finally LaMelo Ball, you could take a look at the assist prop, right? So LaMelo's at 6.5 assists. If you take a look at these last 5 games, he's hit the over in 3 of them, but for the season, averaging 7.5 assists per game, which is over the 6.5 that they have the prop. Again, it's a pace down spot, but at the same time, with Gordon Hayward out of the lineup, he is going to see at least a slight increase in his rates. And any increase over an average that's already on the over there also would make it a very solid option to go to. That is all I've got for today's Prize Picks preview. If you guys haven't already signed up on Prize Picks, haven't already made your first deposit, make sure you guys use code GUNDAGGER when you're signing up for up to a $100 deposit match. That is the best deal you're going to get across the industry. Of course, helps us out on the channel as well. So if you haven't already done so, make sure you use that code there. And of course, if you haven't already liked the video or subscribed to the channel here, make sure you go ahead and do that as well. We're going to have even more Prize Picks content dropping throughout the week, whether it's Gundagger's Prize Picks stream this afternoon at 2 p.m. or the NBA DFS live stream at 3 p.m. It's daily content on here in the channel for you guys for free. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of that. I'd love to see you guys next time. We're going to have another video coming out tomorrow, another one towards the weekend this week. So make sure to look on for all of that. If you haven't already checked out my personal YouTube page, make sure to check that out as well. A link is in the description. Posting golf content, NFL, NBA, MMA content all the time for you guys. So if you enjoyed this type of video, are looking for even more, your daily fill over there for DFS, I've got you guys covered. Good luck with all of your prop hunting tonight, and I'll see you guys